find inspiration for your cooking in a lot of different places. In cookbooks, your pantry, your refrigerator, but nothing beats fresh seasonal ingredients. Let me share a secret recipe. Discover an ingredient that fires your imagination. Choose other flavors to match. Find the best way to cook them. My secret recipe? Cooking without a recipe. Over the years, I've learned a lot as a chef. How to butcher a whole lamb, how to fit 14 garnishes on a plate, how to motivate a dishwasher. But one lesson that continues to inspire me at home is how tasty fresh local produce can be. Our local corn is in season, so for a few weeks there's going to be a lot of shucking going on around here. There's lots of possibilities, but I think I'll start with one of our favorites, corn chowder. Chowders are traditionally a way to toss a lot of fresh ingredients into a pot and make a simple, spontaneous soup. They're often made with fish, but not always. Sometimes they feature corn instead. Like any soup, chowder begins with a flavor base, usually pork, because pork was traditionally easy to store, and it always tastes great. Fatback, salt pork, or today's bacon. You can put as much bacon as you like in your corn chowder, but usually 2 slices or so per ear of corn works great. It's always a good idea to brown your bacon off before you add the vegetables, because the vegetables will slow down the browning process. And at this point you have an option. When the bacon browns, it throws off a lot of fat, and that fat tastes really good, but it's still fat, so it's up to you how much you want to keep in the chowder and how much you want to get rid of. I usually leave a good splash behind to help cook the vegetables. The crisp bacon will add plenty of brown flavor to the chowder, so you really only need to cook the celery and onions until they soften, until they smell great. Chowder was actually the first thing my mom would make every year with the new corn. But it wasn't the first taste of new corn I had every year. I would sit out on the back steps shucking away, knowing that a bowl full of flavor was my reward. But like any kid who's ever shucked corn, I knew full well that it tasted just fine on the cob. That's a lesson that stuck with me, because the best way to preserve the true field flavor of the corn is to add it at the end of the chowder, to stir it in and just barely warm it through, to keep it a bit raw. Now for some liquid. Milk is definitely traditional, but if you like, you can also use chicken broth. It adds some flavor. And if you're feeling extravagant, you can always finish with a bit of cream. It adds body and richness. It is cream though. I'm not going to use just cream. A lot of milk, a little bit of cream. Now here's another option. Sometimes chowders are thick and sometimes they're not, but I really like the taste of a nice, thick, rich chowder. So sometimes I stir grated potatoes directly into my seafood chowder. It's almost as if I'm adding mashed potatoes. It works really nicely. You can even take some of the bacon fat and whisk a little flour into it and then whisk that into a chowder. But this is a corn chowder, so how about some cornmeal instead? And it doesn't take very much to get the job done. Just a couple of spoonfuls, because as the cornmeal starts to cook, it begins to swell and it slowly absorbs all the liquid around it, which thickens the works quite nicely. In fact, you could go ahead and add a full cup to this and you'd end up with a tasty cornmeal pudding, otherwise known as polenta. And even if you are making polenta, you should still wait till the very last moment to stir in the corn. All over the world, cooks rely on local seasonal ingredients. They are the foundation of any cuisine, anywhere, and around here, cause for celebration. Like the fresh local corn in one of our favorite soups, corn chowder, a flavor base of crisp bacon, onions, and celery, topped off with milk and cream, and thickened with cornmeal. And let's not forget, corn off the cob. Corn traces its origins through the Southwest, where it's a staple, and it's often paired with avocados, which also thrive in the Southwest. Hey, wherever you cook in this world, you can always find inspiration in your backyard, and these two go together no matter how you mix them, especially in a simple guacamole. For guacamole, you can puree the avocados if you wish, but you can also try a coarser, more rustic texture by mashing instead. Guacamole is really just a simple Mexican condiment with lots of local flavors stirred in. And there's lots of different versions, but the best include lime juice, cilantro, and something spicy. In guacamole, it's also traditional to include a little bit of some onion. But guacamole doesn't get cooked, and the taste of raw onion is not for everybody. So here's a way to make sure that its flavors don't overwhelm all the other flavors. By giving it a good rinse. This way you lose the pungency, but you keep the flavor and the texture. And a little bit of salt to round all these flavors out. And the best way to taste avocado corn guacamole? With a yellow corn chip. Ripe avocado, ripe corn. Tastes amazing, but you know, there's a bit of a mystery here. Because when you pick corn, it actually starts to lose sweetness. But when you pick avocado, a fruit, it gains sweetness, and some fruits never ripen at all after picking. The trick is to know when to pick. Picking ripe fruit at the supermarket is a great way to fill your shopping cart with lots of healthy flavors and natural colors. But growers know that once you take them home, not all fruits do the same thing. Bananas are the gold standard. They're the #1 fruit eaten in the world, and growers love them because they ripen in every way after you pick them. Avocados do too. But Grapes, berries, and citrus fruit don't ripen after picking. Neither does watermelon, but other melons do. Cantaloupe, honeydew, as well as peaches, plums, nectarines. After picking, they all improve their color, their juiciness, and their texture, but they don't really get sweeter. On the other hand, apples, kiwis, mangoes, and pears all need to ripen on the tree, but as growers know, they also gain sweetness after picking. The bottom line, Mother Nature works in mysterious ways. Father Time often gives her a hand, and checking out fruit is always a great idea. One of the best things about fresh local vegetables is how little you have to do to them to help them taste great. Especially when their flavor's not diminished by 1,000 miles of shipping and diesel fumes. Here's a simple summer dish you can make with something that just might be in your own backyard: zucchini. Zucchini can grow to the size of baseball bats, but when it does, it gets tough, and it usually ends up in zucchini bread that doesn't taste like zucchini. The best zucchini is about this size. Zucchini is loaded with sugar, so it browns very easily. And once it does, throw in some tomatoes. The more local, the better. And nothing tastes like summer like fresh basil. And you don't have to chop it, dice it, slice it, or mince it to get it in. Just throw the leaves in whole. Now that's what summer in a pan looks like. Now what does summer in a dessert look like?
Casey, I picked these for you. Here, Casey.
That's a good boy, Casey. When you're looking for kitchen inspiration, you don't have to look far when it's growing nearby, because nothing beats the taste of a fresh local ingredient. Our local corn is bursting with sweetness, and so is one of our favorite soups, corn chowder. I also tossed some corn into a classic guacamole with mashed avocados, lime, cilantro, onions, and jalapeno pepper. Local zucchini is getting top billing too, sautéed with onions, tomatoes, and basil. I know a lot of ingredients seem to have endless seasons at the supermarket, but it's fun to anticipate the local stuff too, and when it arrives, to celebrate it. Like berries. When these are in season, I'm the king of shortcakes. You can make gold standard shortcake biscuits with a few standard ingredients, one secret ingredient, and one time-saving ingredient. First, the standard stuff. Flour, baking powder, and since they're for dessert, sugar. And now the secret. Here's why everybody who tries my biscuits asks for the recipe. Nutmeg. It's the classic flavor of old-fashioned donuts, and it adds a warm, homey flavor to biscuits. It's a simple secret, really. And the measurements are simple, too. Start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour, Then 2 heaping spoonfuls of sugar, call them tablespoons if you like. One spoonful of baking powder, and a half teaspoon of salt, and last but not least, for the dry ingredients, half a teaspoon of nutmeg. And with any biscuit recipe, it's always a good idea to thoroughly mix the dry ingredients before you add any wet ingredients. Now for the time-saving ingredient. Some creamy sour cream. The tartness of the sour cream really balances the richness of the biscuits quite nicely. And all you need is a heaping cupful, which basically means about as much as you can fit into a cup measure before it starts falling all over the counter. Sour cream, good to the last drop. And the best way to mix a biscuit of any kind is with a wooden spoon, this end. It's just a lot easier to clean up. Once the sour cream is fully dissolved, it seems to disappear and there doesn't seem to be any more flour, start using your hands. Just fold it over a little bit, pressing each time as you do until it comes together into one solid ball. And when it does, you're ready for the next step. Now you can use biscuit cutters, but you can also use a sharp knife. And if you like, you can jazz the top of these up with some sugar and not cream, not sour cream, but milk. And it doesn't take very much. There's actually quite a bit of sugar in milk, so it browns easily. It really helps the tops of the biscuits look really nice. "425 degrees is a very hot oven, but that's what it takes for these to rise." The heat of the oven explodes the moisture in the biscuits into steam, and that steam separates the biscuits into flaky layers. That's the key. And nothing tastes better with fresh shortcake than fresh local berries. And for that matter, nothing tastes better with fresh blueberries than maple syrup. Couple of cups of blueberries, half a cup or so of maple syrup, a generous splash of vanilla. Add some cornstarch to the lemon juice, and that will help thicken it up. The only thing missing here is a few minutes of heat. I love being able to look at my table and see the seasons. It's what great cooking is all about, and this looks like summer. Backyard zucchini, farmer's market tomatoes, basil from the garden, all mixed together, a simple summer side dish. And guacamole, a simple southwestern condiment. Now that's a bowl full of flavor. And these bowls are going to be full of flavor too, with corn chowder, one of our favorite soups this time of year. Nice crisp bacon, browned onion, celery, milk, a little bit of cream, all finished off with corn. And I've waited till the last second to add the corn because that's the best way to preserve the true farm fresh flavor of it. And as anyone who's ever shucked an ear of corn knows, corn tastes great raw. So by adding this now, you keep the intensity of the flavor. Same thing applies to this parsley. Just some simple chopped parsley, but by adding it last, it stays green, the flavor stays fresh. I love a nice thick soup like this. It's a meal in a bowl. And there's nothing like some ripe seasonal fruit for an after-dinner treat. A pot full of hand-picked blueberries, lemon juice, lemon zest, maple syrup, and a big splash of vanilla. A pot full of flavor. Just the thing to top off some sour cream biscuits. And to top any fruit on top of any shortcake, there's only one topping: whipped cream. You can let the seasons around you inspire your kitchen too. And when you do, you'll be following a tradition that's inspired cooks since cooking was invented.
Do you want some, Dad?
Let's get some for Mommy.
I love fresh corn.
Isn't that good with corn in it? And it's all mashed. Whoa! What do you think? You like the guacamole? I just want to eat a zucchini as a ripening. Isn't that good?
I want the white egg.
Why don't you go look over there and see if there's any treats over there?
I knew you were gonna make one of those. So
Uh-huh.
I saw you make one on the TV.